Alright, y'all. For this lesson series, we're going to be talking about the major scale and kind of how it functions. To understand your major scale, you also have to understand that there's only 7 notes in every major scale. So no matter what key or kind of center of the musical universe we're talking about, there's only 7 notes. So in the key of C, it goes as follows. It goes from C to D. That's your second scale degree, right? C is your root, or 1. D is 2, your second. E is 3. F is 4. G is 5. So that's your 5th scale degree. Your 6th scale degree is A. And your 7th scale degree is B. And then back to C. So, to kind of understand what I'm talking about, right? If we talk about Western music, you start on any given note, and you basically play up until you hit that note again. And that's a scale, right? And typically there's about 7 notes in it. There's some odd scales out there, but we're not going to be talking about those yet. So now that we've started building a scale, we can also start talking about chords. And there's a few ways that we're going to do this, but the first way that I'd like to talk about it is in 7 chords, meaning we're actually going to start playing from our root. So like, let's say I want to build a chord starting on 1, but I want it to be a 7th chord, meaning that it has 4 notes in it, including the 7th. So if I start from C, it goes root, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and I need all those notes to make a 7th chord, right? So that's C, E, G, and B. So now I have to put all those notes together, and the actual shape where you can grab all of those notes looks like this. So that is your 1 chord, which is a major 7. And now if we're talking about kind of how music theory works, right? If we start on the 1 chord, that's going to be a major chord. The 2 chord, if we do the same exact thing that we did for the major chord and make a chord out of it starting from the 2nd scale degree, it just so happens that that chord's going to be minor, so there's my D minor shape. The same thing happens with the E, the 3rd, right? So here's my major 3rd. If I build a chord off of it, it actually becomes E minor. Same thing with the 4, except this time it actually turns out to be major. Now, when you get to the 5, your 5 chord actually is going to be dominant, meaning that it has a root, a 3rd, a 5th, and a flat 7, which actually kind of makes it a little unstable. It wants to move somewhere, and 5 typically always wants to go to 1. That's why you'll hear like a 5-1, right? That's a common chord progression. So here is your dominant 7 chord, your G dominant 7. Now your 6, if we build a chord off of the 6, it becomes a minor chord again, so that's just this shape again. And then your last scale degree, it is minor, but it's a very special kind of minor chord. It's a minor 7 flat 5 chord. So B, if you start on B, your 7th scale degree in the key of C major, and we build a chord off of it, it actually sounds like this. And that's a minor 7 flat 5 chord. A very pretty and a very important chord to know the difference. But it's still a minor chord, just with a lowered 5th. And then we get back to our major 7 chord, C major 7. So going back through all of these chords again, it goes C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G dominant 7, A minor 7, and and then B minor 7 flat 5. You can also call this half diminished. And then back to C. C major 7. So this is how all major keys function. So if we're playing diatonically or within the key, and I say play me a 2, a 5, a 1, or any sort of chord progression like that, like let's say 2, 5, 1, right? That's going to be D, because that's my second scale degree, and we know that's a minor chord. Your fifth, we said, was dominant 7, so that's going to be a G7. And then your 1 is a major 7, right? Because we're in a major key, so. And that's really how harmony works. The cool thing is that we don't have to follow these rules, right? So you can actually change the quality of the chord, meaning is it major, minor, diminished, or half diminished. And then you actually get some really interesting sounds that you wouldn't actually hear if we stayed in completely diatonic harmony all the time. Thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, happy practicing.